Hello there, horse chestnuts, Mr. Carroll here. So, for our maths lesson today, we are looking at the division of fractions, okay? We've done multiplication, and I'm sure you've done really well. We're now looking at the division. And this is where we really need to focus on the denominator. Let's have a look at this first question, question A. 1/3 divided by 2. Now you can see the bar model there. If we take that 1/3 and we take each section and divide it by 2, what's it going to leave us with? Have a think, okay? With B, we've got our 1/3 and we're dividing it by 3. So we take that 1/3, we're going to divide it by 3. Have a think about what you think will happen to the denominator. Look at the bar model, we've got 3 clear sections there, but we're going to divide those by 3. So what's the number going to be in the denominator? Finally, for C, 2/3 divided by 3. Okay, so this time we've got 2/3, we're dividing it by 3. So that denominator, what's it going to change to? Have a think, press pause. Okay, so let's take a look at the answers. Let's see how you did. 1/3 divided by 2. Well, that's going to equal 1/6. As you can see clearly on the diagram, we had it in 1/3, but now, because we divided by 2, we're now splitting each of those sections into 2, and therefore we've got 6 sections altogether. So 1/3 divided by 2 equals 1/6. For example, now with B, 1/3 divided by 3. Well, that equals 9. You are not changing the numerator this time, it's the denominator that changes, because you are increasing the number there. Okay, so now we've got what was 1/3 split into 9ths. For C, again, the numerator stays the same, but again, we've divided it by 3. So 2/3 divided by 3 is 2/9. We've still got the 2, but now we've got 9 sections. Okay, you can clearly see that we need to use our multiplications, but we're looking at the numerator staying the same. It's the denominator and the division amount that we need to change. So let's look at the following. 3/4 of a kilogram of rice is divided equally between 2 bowls. How much rice is in each bowl? So we've got 3/4, we're dividing by 2, and remember we're changing the denominator, we're not changing the numerator. So have a think, what do you think the answer is going to be? Again, press pause if you need to, write down the calculation to work out what you need to do. 3/4 of a kilogram of rice is divided equally between 2 bowls. How much rice is in each bowl? You can see here that the answer is going to be 3/8, because 3/4 divided by 2. Okay, the 3 and numerator stays the same. It's the denominator that we change to 8. Okay, 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, let's look at the following. Okay, using the same skills, even though the boxes change around, okay, it doesn't need to worry you. All you need to do is use exactly the same skills we've been talking about. So 1/5 divided by 7. Remember, the numerator is going to stay the same, it's the denominators that's going to change, and all you need to do is use your multiplication skills. Right? We are making that fraction smaller. That's what we're doing, okay? 1/6 divided by 3 for B, okay? Remember, the 1 stays the same, we are dividing, okay? So 1/6 divided by 3, the 3 and the 6, look at the pattern, what's that going to be? For C, 1/4 divided by 9, right? 1/4 divided by 9, you're going to make that fraction smaller. Look at the pattern between the 4 and the 9, what do you need to do? For D, they have moved it around again, but it's exactly the same skill. 1/7 divided by 6. Keep the 1, use multiplication knowledge to help make that fraction smaller. 6 times 7, what's that fraction going to be? For E, 4/9 divided by 7. Okay, use exactly the same skills. Keep that 4, it's the denominator that's changing, and you're going to make it smaller because you're going to do 9 times 7. For F, something equals 5/6 divided by 12. So look at the link between 12 and 6. How much smaller is that fraction going to be? It's going to be 5 over something. For G, 8/3 divided by 7. Okay, so keep the 8. Look at the link between the 3 and the 7. How much smaller is that fraction going to be now? Because remember, the larger the number in a fraction for the denominator, the smaller it's going to be. For the next one, 19 over 20 divided by 5. Okay, so 19 over 20, you keep the 19, that denominator is going to change and it's going to be a lot smaller. Use your multiplication knowledge to help you out. 1 over 100 divided by 25. Now that sounds complicated, but again, you don't need to worry, okay? Think about your knowledge. The 1 needs to stay the same. 25 multiplied by 100 will help you work out that denominator. And finally, 45 over 50. You're dividing by 20. So keep the 45, divide by 20. So look at what pattern you need to do between the 50 and the 20. Okay? As I always say, press pause, work through it. They do get trickier near the end, but you've all got those skills. Take your time, use that multiplication knowledge. Even though these are division questions, it's your multiplication knowledge which will help you work out the denominator for each single question. I'm sure you've done really well, and I'm sure you're scanning now, checking your answers. But let's just go through them just to make sure we've got this. So A, 1/5 divided by 7. It's going to give you an answer of 1/35 because you're reducing and making that fraction smaller. And to do that, you keep the numerator of 1 the same, but you do the calculation of 5 times 7 and that gives you 35. So that fraction is now a lot smaller. For B, it's 1/18. You keep the 1 the same, but 3 and 6 give you 18. 1/4 divided by 9. That's going to give you an answer of 1/36. Why? Because we keep the 1 as our numerator, but we've got 1/4 divided by 9. Therefore, we need to do the calculation of 4 times 9, and that gives us a denominator of 36. That denominator is so much smaller now because we've divided it by 9. For D, we've got an answer of 1/42. For E, we do 4/9 divided by 7. So again, that 4 stays exactly the same, but 9 multiplied by 7 gives us 63. So we've now gone from 4/9 to 4/63. For F, it's 5 over 72. For G, 8/3 divided by 7 gives us 8 over 21. Again, 8 stays the same. It's the denominator we're changing, and we're doing 3 multiplied by 7 to give us 21. For H, 19/20 divided by 5 is going to give us 19 over 100 overall, okay? For I, now this might have looked a bit complicated, but you've got exactly the same skills. All you needed to do was keep the 1 as a numerator, do 100 multiplied by 25 to give you 2,500. So that fraction has gone a lot smaller, from 1 over 100 to 1 over 2,500. For the last one, you had 45 over 50 divided by 20. So that would have given you 45 over 1,000. But then we can simplify it by using a 5 times table and reducing it down to 9 over 200. But if you did put 45 over 1,000, that is still a correct answer. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to apply the skills in a slightly different way. What you've got to do is work out whether these fractions here are greater than, smaller than, or equal to the fraction opposite. So for example, for A, 1/3 divided by 5. Is that equal to, smaller than, or greater than 1/5 divided by 3? Have a look carefully, work it out, and see what you think, okay? Use precisely the same skills we've been using. Now remember, as you're doing this, that if, for example, you have 1/9 compared to an answer of 1/25, the 1/9 is going to be the bigger fraction because 1 out of 9 is bigger than 1 out of 25, remember, okay? For B, you've got 1/3 divided by 3. So what's that answer going to be? compared to 1/5 divided by 5. For C, you've got 3/5 divided by 5. So is that smaller than, greater than, or equal to 3/5 divided by 3? Take your time, work these out carefully, and make sure you put in the symbols correctly. And here you go. Here we've got the answers. 1/3 divided by 5 is going to give you 1/15. And 1/5 divided by 3 is going to give you 1/15. So they are equal. For B, 1/3 divided by 3 is going to give you 1/9. Whereas 1/5 divided by 5 is going to give you 1/25. So in B, the first one is larger. The 1/9 is larger than 1/25. For C, you've got 3/5 divided by 5. So the numerator stays the same, but it's going to be 3/25. And that's compared to 3/5 divided by 3. That's going to give you 3/15. So the 3/15 will be the bigger fraction. Hopefully you've got these correct. If not, have another look and take your time. Thank you very much for listening to this session, and hopefully you've got a much clearer understanding of how to divide fractions. Take care and look after yourselves.